Welcome home, where we provide motive. Hold on, something's going on here. There we go. Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Laura Poindexter here with me today. How you doing, Laura?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm excited to see we got a couple people already in the building. Mary Evans says hello. And I just wanted to pass along tonight that we've moved our show to 9 o'clock p.m. And I find that to be symbolic of our journey to greatness in life. Your epiphany, your moment of change could come in the final hour. Never stop paying attention for what life is trying to tell you. Never stop paying attention to what your universe is speaking to you. Before you lay your head on your pillow, listen again. Here we are at 9 o'clock daily on America's Next Motivator, bringing you a powerful story. Today, we're talking to Laura Poindexter. How you feeling out there, Laura?
I am doing well, Cedric. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mary Evans, hello to you. Trebell Nicholson, hello. She says she's here to support her girl, Laura, and we appreciate that. Laura, talk to us about your childhood. Where are you from, and what was it like for you growing up there?
I'm from Harlem, New York.
Okay, Harlem. Now,
Grown.
go ahead. What does that mean to be from Harlem? People say that all the time. What does it mean? What does it really mean to be from Harlem? Why is that a big deal?
It is a big deal because it was one of the primary destinations of the Great Migration. And
Okay.
so Harlem created this fertile ground for people of color to actually come into their own. Harlem is the birthplace of the Renaissance, and where we were able to show the larger society that we were writers and musicians, and we were other things than something other than sharecroppers. Harlem provided this place for us to actually grow into great speakers in County Cullen, you know what I mean? Zora Neale Hurston, Harlem was that place. The Harlem was that place. So yeah, it's a huge deal to be from Harlem.
That's right. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've not either been to Harlem to actually feel the culture there, what she's saying, it definitely rings true. Look in your history books and discover how Harlem was a place where you could go and express yourself, where you might not have been able to do that in other places in the country. And because there were so many other people expressing themselves, you had to be good at it. The thing about Harlem is you've got to be good. You've got to be great. You can't be mediocre in Harlem. You've got to be able to compete with all the other creators, people who are presenting themselves as best they can. And so go out there and discover Harlem. When you look at America, places that you need to go see and experience, put Harlem, New York on that list.
Absolutely.
Now, what was it like for you growing up there?
Okay, so the thing about it is that when we look at urban environments, and I guess I need to say this first. What the media shows us as it relates to urban environments is the blight. They always seem to separate and show the worst parts. But let me just say that growing up in Harlem, we didn't know that we were below the poverty line. Those things really didn't resonate with us because we had love. We had unity, the kind of unity where if I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to do, I probably would get my behind whipped 3 or 4 times before my grandmother even got the news. And so we were in a safe haven. Growing up in that Harlem community, it gave me the moxie, the courage and the strength that I needed to face the world. Coming from Harlem, I could be in any environment, in any demographic. Harlem makes you feel very confident in who you are, even as a woman of color. I was never intimidated when I went out. I wanted to try new things. Harlem just created this really strong foundation for me to be anything that I wanted to be.
Talk to me about your relationship with your mother and father when you were a young child.
Okay, well that's where it's going to get. My mom died when I was 6 years old. She had a brain aneurysm and it ruptured. And
Wow.
my dad, he was actually a up and coming hustler in Harlem, and so when my mother, his wife, died, I simultaneously lost both parents because my father did not feel like he could parent sufficiently without his wife. And so when my mom died, we went to live with my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, my father's mother. And that's actually who raised me.
Wow.
Me and my sister. I have a younger sibling. Yeah.
Okay. So at 6 years old, your whole life changed.
Yes.
How did you take on that new beginning at 6 years old? Did your father become your everything? Did your grandmother become, just more than a person in your life? Did she become one of your heroes?
My grandmother eventually became one of my heroes, but I need to be very, very transparent in terms of the pain that I felt. I was 6 years old. I can only speak to me. I don't know of any 6-year-old, but I could not process death. And as an African, coming up in an African American family, we have to do what we have to do. People of color oftentimes are not afforded the luxury of mourning. We are not afforded the luxury of being able to say, hey, we're just going to take it easy. We're going to go on. We're just going to just until we get this together. So my mother passed away. My dad needed to put food on the table, and I was in pain.
Wow.
And it's not that they glossed over it. I wouldn't say that my family glossed over my pain. They dealt with it the way they had dealt with every other death that had come before the death of my mother. Get over it and get on with it. And that didn't quite happen for me. And so because I was not able to process my mother's death, by the age of 14, I was using drugs.
Wow.
That's how I processed my mother's death.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very important moment in our conversation tonight. There are a lot of children, a lot of people who are going to have to grow up without both parents or without the nuclear environment that we see as normal. And I don't know that we pay enough attention to what that means for a 6-year-old when you lose one or both of your parents. She said that they didn't have the luxury of grieving, meaning there was no slowing down of the train of life. Nobody stopped and said, hey, let's give Laura the next couple weeks out of school. Let's put Laura in counseling. Let's all go to some counseling. Let's have group conversations about what this means for us going forward. It was just like, and I'm hearing what you're saying. Oh, we'll go to the funeral, but you've got to go to school tomorrow. I got to go to work tomorrow. And grandma's got to do the best she can with you as well. Let's move on. But you knew that there was something. You knew that there was something at 6 years old that you needed to process. You knew it. And you were thinking about it, and it led to you looking for acceptance at a very young age. When you call grieving a luxury, that paints a vivid picture in my mind of the hustle and bustle and how that replaces human emotion and the consequences of us ignoring the human emotions of the people around us. So now, what signs, if any, did you show at 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 that you were either depressed or stressed? What signs did you show?
Well, you asked if my grandmother became my hero, and normally, like you would think, okay, well, your mom dies, your dad has to put food on the table, your grandmother is taking care of you. She should instantaneously have become my hero. But
Right.
she wasn't my mother.
Okay.
And so I could not see her. I could not see her sacrifice. I knew she was my grandmother. I knew she was taking care of me. She was not my mother.
Wow.
And my dad wasn't there. And
Right.
so the first beginnings of me displaying a broken behavior or PTSD, because PTSD is not just for combat veterans,
That's right.
was that no matter how good anyone was to me, it wasn't good enough because you were not my mother.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Is there anything in retrospect that could have been done better to help you get through that process?
My family and all families should acknowledge a child's emotions. I'm not just going to say they're hurt, their emotions. Children have a way of telling us things if we would just pay attention. I needed somebody to acknowledge that I was effed up.
That's right. That's right.
By the death of my, and it effed me up for many years. I was a parent and still effed up over the death of my mother.
That's right. That's right. You know what? Let's get in front of this as much as we can inside of this hour right here on America's Next Motivator. We have 400,000 youth in the foster care system today, more than 400,000, about 444,000 youth in the foster care system today. The majority of them are having the same feelings that Laura had when she lost her mother. Nothing is going to replace her mother, and now she has this group of emotions that she's going to have to go through. And guess what? As family members, we've got to realize that when we lose someone, their children are going to need us to wrap around them. Everybody's got to pitch in somehow. When somebody dies, we got to look and say, those children are going to need us to show up some way or another. Uncle got to show up. Mother got to show up. Cousin got to show up. Grandma, grandpa. People need to come out of the woodworks, as they say, to show up for children when they lose their parents. Because guess what? We have a storm ahead of us when somebody loses their parents, because you don't know what to do. And like Laura is saying, it's irreplaceable. And so the best that we can do is show up more, because guess what? This person's not going to find a cure to the disease, the agony of losing the person that birthed you. And this is the reality of 500,000 youth in the foster care system. And beyond the foster care system, we have people every day who lose their parents, who are going to go through the emotional storm of loss, feeling deficient, feeling inadequate, because now you're at the lunch table and everybody's eating a lunch that their mother packed for them. You didn't have a mother pack your lunch. And so in order to get in front of the emotional battle that people have to deal with when they don't have their parents, we have to realize our responsibility as family members to be there for one another, to check up on one another, to stop by. What did elementary school look like for you as you dealt with these emotions? Did any of your teachers pull you to the side and try to get through? Did you have any breakthroughs in elementary school? And who offered you the drugs? Let's go.
Okay. Well, actually, elementary school was probably the only time that I took school seriously. So my family, instead of giving me that actual, like that connecting talk, this is what death looks like, this is what we're going to do, they overcompensated. So my dad is a hustler, so he didn't spend any time with my sister and myself, but we had everything that we wanted. So my family overcompensated. I danced at the dance theater of Harlem. Me and my sister, we went to Broadway shows on Broadway, limousine, all of that, come and take us. We wore fur coats my dad, he couldn't deal with, that was him acting out. So let me tell you, I wasn't the only one effed up. Okay, let me just say that. You understand? Because he out there getting it. His kids are lost. He's covering up pain with material stuff. So in elementary school, I was good. I was good. I was a straight A student. My sister was a straight A student. But when I got to high school, with junior high school, that's when things really started getting shaky, because what they did is that they covered up my mess with material stuff, and the material stuff attracted other people that didn't have it. Now watch this. I had something that they didn't have, but ain't none of us had what we needed.
That's right. That's right.
If I'm making any sense.
You making all the sense in the world. You're making all the sense in the world. And we are talking about a very American story tonight. We want to give people a mirror to look at their communities and realize what's happening. Now, like you said, your father he's expressing himself through materials, and he's giving you what he thinks, is good for you. But that emotional work is not going anywhere. And we have a problem in our communities, which is running away from emotional work. Running away from emotional work. Put a number 1 in the chat if you know that a lot of us are running away from emotional work. Yeah. Everybody telling you to go out there and do the physical work. Hey, listen, go mop floors if you need to. Grab a job at the fast food spot. Be a hustler. Go out there and make your million. Join corporate America. All different types of work people are telling you to do. Nobody's telling you, let's sit down at the table and do this emotional work, which ain't going nowhere. This emotional work, which is going to come to the surface when you get to middle school with all the other kids who think they grown because they didn't have anybody to help them do the emotional work. So they skipped through the whole middle part of development and said, oh, nobody's going to help me to grow up. So now I'm going to skip. Now I'm an adult. I'm going to skip through all the middle part and I'm an adult. So in middle school, you got a lot of kids who they think they're grown. And guess what they do? They poke at each other to find the holes. Oh, that's a nice jacket. But I know it's something under there is wrong with you.
Boom.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So now, because I look a certain way, from the surface, I look a certain way. I dress a certain way. My hair is always done. I'm attracting people that's like, whoa, okay, oh, and so now I'm hanging with people. They don't care about me. They don't care about me, but they know the right words to say. Because you got to remember, you got to remember. Now, I've already said none of us have done the work. We're all jacked up emotionally, some way, shape, form, or fashion. However, to the person who doesn't have the surface stuff or the material stuff, they'll look at me and think that I'm doing better than them, when technically, if you take off all of this shiny stuff I got on top, you and I are the same person, but they don't see that. I tell people all the time, yo, you take 2 kids. One kid ain't never, ever been hungry. And then this other kid has to go out in the morning, steal bacon and eggs defeat his brother and sister. Okay? Trust what I tell you. This thing where we don't support and we're all piled on top of it is because we don't look beneath the surface. You understand what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'm bumping up now with these kids, man. I ain't got nothing on these kids. These kids getting ready to show me that I ain't about it. These kids about it. I ain't never been hungry. Yeah, I lost my mother, but they ain't got neither one of their parents, and they ain't got a grandmother to take care of them.
And they didn't eat this morning.
And so now I'm in the jungle for real. Because I didn't do the work. Nobody helped me do the work so that I could adhere to the love and the guidance and all that stuff that my family was giving me. I didn't want it because I was hurt because of the loss of my mother. So I decided, let me go over here. Man, right. Cedric, whoa,
that's right. That's right. We are.
You know, before I knew it, smoking reefer, sniffing coke, smoking crack. Wow. I started smoking crack when I was 15 years old.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we are raising awareness tonight about the reality of young people going to middle school right here in America. Whether you're in the Midwest, the West Coast, the East Coast, the Southern states, or up north. The reality is that our children go out into a very dangerous world because so many people are hurt. And if you didn't know, we are teaching you today. There's a recruitment process. Hey, I know you got on nice clothes. It looks like your family's doing good for you, but you hurt, ain't you? You hurt. I know you hurt, because if you're not hurt, you're not cool. We have a culture of pain. We wear pain like stripes on a military badge. And so there are so many young people who are hurt or who are in pain that they use it as a recruitment tool in a place like middle school. If you are hurt, come hang out with me. If you're in pain, sit at my lunch table. I'm going to show you how to deal with it. There's always somebody, like they say, somebody always got it worse than you. We have so much widespread hurt and pain in our communities. Somebody's more hurt than you. Somebody's going through more pain than you. And they're going to look like they know how to deal with it. And you're going to follow them. You're going to be influenced by them. You're going to follow them after school. You're going to go to their apartment. And they're going to tell you, this is how I cope. Here's a joint. Here's a beer. Here's a cigarette. Here's some sex in middle school. And so when you look at young people and you say, why can't I get through to them? It's because they are being recruited by the other hurt kids around them. And they are more interested in what the other hurt kids have to say than what you have to say. And what the other hurt kids are saying is, hey, we need to go do drugs like we saw our parents doing. We need to go drink like we saw our parents doing. We need to be materialistic like we saw our parents. Oh, yeah, we going to the mall to steal some clothes. However we can cope with the hurt and pain. And so what we're raising awareness about today is that in order to help the young people who are going to become the adults, is we need to gather people and we need to do the emotional work of what your reality is when you've lost family, when you got some hurt somewhere, some pain somewhere that's not been processed, because recruiting young people who are hurt is easier than you know. And Laura got caught up in that. So now your grandmother, she's paying attention to you in middle school. What was it like for you sneaking in the house and you high or you smell like tobacco and you've been out there doing what you wanted to do?
At this time now, my father's in the penitentiary. He's in the federal joint. So I'm really, really off the hook. And there is initially a feeling of guilt. There is initially a feeling of shame. But once you get far enough out there, you have to tell yourself that you don't care in order to continue with the foolishness and the shenanigans. The more you continue to destroy yourself, the more you continue to wreak havoc, the less your conscience begins to deflate as your sense of whatever bravado inflates. Once something expands, something else has to contract. It's going to always be the yin and yang of it. Okay, so I don't ever want people to get it twisted. Once you continue to do whatever that thing is that you're doing that's pulling you in a certain direction, it's only going to be a matter of time where you in and out. And yeah, I got high, but I got clean. And I don't really think they knew that I was high. And, yeah, I took that, but I really don't think that they missed that. That balancing act only lasts for a minute. Trust and believe. Whatever it is that you're doing the most of, that's the thing that is going to overcome you. And so initially, I thought that I was getting over and it was easy, but my grandmother wasn't no fool. But when she told me, don't come back in here. Wherever you at, wherever you've been staying at, wherever you've been sleeping at, wherever you've been getting high at, I hope they got long-term lodging, because you can't come back in here.
How old were you when she said that to you?
17. Okay. 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was grown, and I was going with the neighborhood drug dealer, and he was making me all kinds of promises. And so my father had already taught me that if I could dress up the outside, that I would be all right. That's the lesson that he taught me.
Right.
And man, we only got an hour, but that's the lesson that he taught me. So when I met a man that taught me the same thing that was already instilled in me, so I believed that lie was a lie when my father told it to me. But I believed it when he told it to me. And you know what I got with the neighborhood drug dealer? Even more beat up, even more jacked up. Man, the only reason that I had to take a moment to look at my life is when I got pregnant with my son. I was 21 years old. And the love that I lost with my mother, I connected with it again when I found out that I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a moment of clarity.
Right.
At 21. But from 14 to 21, man, I was tearing them streets up, and them streets was tearing me right the hell back up too.
That's right. Love is a key remedy for correcting the emotional trials that we've had. Is love, is unadulterated, unconditional love that makes the difference. There are so many different messages when somebody gives you love that combat the negative or bad messages that you have in your mind. When somebody puts that love on you, or when you begin to put that love on someone else, because now you're having a child, pure love is a corrective behavior. It's love, unconditional love, that's going to help us to address the emotional work that we need to deal with in our communities. Now, before we go to the break, I want to condense what we just talked about. You were a talented young lady who lost her parents. Nobody around you was prepared to do the emotional work for you or for themselves. And in doing so, you went into an abusive relationship with yourself. Some of your friends might have done the same thing, went into an abusive relationship with themselves. The drug dealer, the father, all these people go into an abusive relationship with yourself because yourself wants you to process the pain. Yourself wants you to discover, hey, it's not the end of the world because your mother's not here. Yourself wants you to discover it's not the end of the world because your father's not here. Your mother resides in you. Now, when you speak, your mother speaks. Your father resides in you. Now, when you move, your father moves. When your parents leave this earth, what we are trying to discover is that it's a graduation. It's a matriculation. The matriarch of your soul has moved into a different seat, which is your heart. Now, I want to give you 4 seconds to say something to a young lady out there who's lost her parents. She's in high school and she's on the brink of losing her life. What do you have to say to her?
Everything that you need is inside of you if you can look past your pain. Pain does not define us. Everything
Absolutely.
she needs is inside of her if she can look past her pain.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Laura Poindexter with a very, very powerful conversation. We'll be right back after this brief message. Y'all sit tight.
Hey, everybody.
America's Next Motivator, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Hey, Laura, how you feeling out there?
I'm doing fine, Cedric. I'm doing fine. I'm happy to share my story. I never thought these kinds of stories, society wants us to be ashamed of these kinds of stories, but these are the kind of stories that bring healing. So I'm always pretty transparent about my story.
Well, one of the things I want to champion tonight with you is that so many of us go through this. There are people who live in high places who go through the very same things that you talk about today. And everybody is not brave enough to share these stories. But when we share them, we allow other people to heal. Now, for instance, I watched the interview between Oprah, Meghan Markle, and Prince Harry last week. And it seemed to me that Harry was talking about living a life of stress. He was talking about the fact that he felt oppressed in his own world. One of the richest families in the world. He was inside of that family with all the luxury, the materials, the success. And he felt that he didn't have the emotional support that he needed growing up. And so what we're championing tonight is that no matter where you are in society, it is possible that there is emotional work that needs to be done in your life, that you have hurt, you have pain that needs to be processed, and that can't happen until we speak out. So I'm considering you one of the boldest people in America today, and there's honor in that. There's honor in that. Now, I went out there and I found a video of Laura doing her thing because she is a very talented person. After all she's been through, she is a brilliant person, and she took life by the horns. And so I'm going to show you guys a video. Everybody sit tight because I'm going to show you guys this video, and then we're going to allow Laura to talk to us about that which she's letting the world know about herself, about her journey. Everybody drop a number 1 in the chat if you are feeling this conversation tonight.
I have some questions.
Here we go.
Anything to do with your brother's murder?
Officer Petty is Butler Ross. No,
So you're acting. I don't hear the audio.
nothing to do with my brother's murder. And last night at the time of the
Can
shooting,
anybody else hear the audio?
said sleep. My
I can hear it clear.
husband me up.
Okay.
This here is all the
Wow.
money them boys got in the world. They daddy left it to him. He wanted it to go towards whatever it needed to go to help him along in the world.
That's Laura,
And it
y'all.
ain't much.
Drop a 1 in the chat if you see that she's an artist, that she's
I
a
ain't never
creator,
touched
a
this
creatress.
Even when I needed it the most. Bills
That's right.
piling up, I never touched it. Now,
Wow.
I'm going to trust you with this
That's
money
right.
to go out there and do whatever you think need to be
So
done.
this is
this
is on YouTube.
Wow.
Of course I'm home. Where's my son? Wait a minute.
We got comments coming into the building.
Michelle was just shot and murdered, Michelle.
She's got some news.
No.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to stop it right here and let's get into it. So, what were we looking at in some of those scenes?
That's my demo reel. So for every single scene, that's a different character I played in a movie. And so that's a compilation of all of the different roles that I've played in. That is my demo reel.
Okay. So now talk to us about how you were able to climb out of, the strongholds that were on you with all the things you got into. How did you get over that and get into your actual art and talent?
Okay, so what I'm doing now is what I've always wanted to do ever since I was a child. That's what I always wanted to do. But we talked a little bit about the detour, and once I got clean, I actually went into the field of health and human services. We talked about doing the work. We talked about the brokenness. And so once I got clean, I had really, my survivor's remorse was deep. I didn't want anybody to hurt. So I went back into the field. So before I started doing this, I dedicated 23 years of my life to health and human services. I've worked for drug court. In that capacity, I worked with getting men and women who were exiting the criminal justice system into long-term rehabilitative housing. I worked with stopping child support for men who were incarcerated. I worked for the Veterans Administration, helping. There are so many veterans that are just broken and suffering. They struggle with getting their benefits. I got them their DD-214s. That was what they needed to get their benefits. I got them housing. I mean, I was rocking in health and human services. I would be able to go into the social service, any department, and say, is the blue book on the second shelf? Is the 15th page and the third paragraph? When I come in, you get ready to get my clients everything they need and everything they deserve. And so I did that hard for 23 years. And I also was a foster parent for about 7 years of my life. I have awards for being a foster parent, and they sent me some of the most difficult kids. So when I got clean, I went right back in the streets that I tore up, and I put it on the mat. I put it on the mat. I got people jobs. I got people off welfare. I got people's kids out of foster care. Like,
That's
yo,
right.
man,
That's
I was so grateful to be clean. I was so grateful to be sober. I couldn't have a career that just served me.
That's right.
And so I worked in health and human services. Yo, said I was good. I had a beautiful home. I had a home in Baltimore. I had a recovery house. I had a house in Vegas, 2 cars. Like, I was like, it still was a material thing, but I'm going somewhere with this. But it was legal.
Mm-hmm.
In 2010, I lost everything. I lost everything.
Wow.
And I wasn't getting high no more. and I wasn't selling drugs. And I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, God, what's going on, man? I'm out here like I'm helping people. I'm doing my thug thizzle, like what's up? And I had to understand that what we go through in life is not all highs or all lows. It's a wave. And we got to learn how to ride the wave. And I had did the work, but now this required more work. The work never stops. Said the work never stops.
That's right. You know what? I need to share something right here in this moment. Our society as it stands, it has different systems that influence us in different ways. And for some of us, we get influenced to live a life of mediocrity where we just follow the patterns that were happening in the last generation. A lot of us, we follow patterns that were happening in the last generation. And for those people, you'll never shake up society. You'll never come back and give back with the passion. You'll just be an average person who's not changing the systems that ultimately are directing us down the path of mediocrity, death, hurt, and pain. And so a lot of people are going to go that route. But when you decide to break out of that pattern, that generational system, that generational curse, if they will, and do something different, once you let the world know that you are going to pull out your sword and you are going to engage in the war of saving your soul, once you let the universe know that you are going to engage in the war of saving other people's souls, then guess what? The universe says, oh, you a warrior. Oh, we got a warrior on our hands. And so as you swing your sword, guess what? The world is going to swing swords back at you. And so if you are somebody who has decided through the epiphany, the light bulbs that has gone on in your soul to get out here and engage in the battle of saving your soul and other souls, realize that you are a warrior now. You are a pillar of the community now. And I encourage you to rise and rise again. I encourage you to rise and rise again, because there are principalities in places that don't want to see you rise and rise again. So as they say, God gives his greatest battles to his strongest warriors. Guess what? Every time you turn around, something is going to go wrong for you, because you have let the world know that you are one of the strongest among us. And there are systems in place to prevent you from being the Harriet Tubman. There are systems in place to prevent you from going back and resurrecting the souls of others. And so when you have these trials and tribulations in your life, be reminded that it's because you are one of the strongest of us, and continue to swing your sword. Now, how did you recover? Because now we're talking to the adults. We're talking to the people who got impacted by the economic crisis of 2008. We're talking to millions of people tonight. How did you cope without going back to drugs, without going back down to baseline, ground zero? How'd you manage?
First of all, said I was pissed with God, and we all get angry with God, and God's like, I'm God. And so when you get unpissed and you want to kick it with me, then I'm here. You know, God is not going. So I'm like, you know, I'm doing the church thing, and I'm kind of doing what I think I need to do. But for whatever reason, and I had skills. My resume was as long as my arm, and I couldn't get a job that saved my life. And I knew at that point it was spiritual, because I had too many skills. I couldn't get a job. So I remember one day I was just really, really fed up, and I started ranting. At God, and I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? And he was like, right. And I was like, what? He was like, right. And I was pissed. And I was so angry, I kind of put it off. But 2 days later, I picked up a legal pad, and I started writing. And the first day that I did what he told me to do, I wrote poems. And my poems basically were my feelings towards him and he answered me. And I tell anybody, it's nothing like hearing the voice of God. And you look at other interviews, it's nothing like hearing the voice of God. And you got to know it was God, because I'm telling you, I was 50 years old when I came to Atlanta. I had $32 in my pocket. I didn't have no place to stay, no acting training, no resume, no headshots, no nothing. And you talking to the screenwriter of the year 2020, 9-time award-winning screenwriter, Netflix, Amazon Prime. That's God.
Right.
That's God. That's why I said with this industry, and people be like, she da 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 da. Yo, check this out. God is my manager and my agent. I'm not listening to none of that y'all telling me, because the same God that got me here is gonna get me where I need to go. And my idea of success and your idea of success is two different successes altogether. My success, I'm bringing some people with me. Your success, you throwing people under the bus to get there. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I am. Like you just said, that's why I am the way I am. I'm not short with people, none of that. It's God. It's the God in me. It's some people I'm going to give all day, all night to, because I feel their spirit. And some people I don't even have a minute for, because I see where they're coming from, said. But that's how I got through it. I asked God what he wanted me to do. He told me to write. I started writing, putting that stuff on the internet. People was calling me for radio interviews. Then I started traveling back and forth doing hosting gigs, and people was paying me. Yo, God, I got through it because of God. He told me to write, and I wrote. And that's how I got here.
That's right. The power of expression, y'all. If you're 50 years old and you're out there in the world tonight and you're feeling stressed out, you're feeling like it's over, you feel like there's nothing that you can do, like we said at the beginning of this episode, listen in. Laura says she had her moment at 50 years old. God told her to write. When she started writing, she became an award-winning screenwriter. She became an award-winning screenwriter. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Let's get some more likes and hearts in the building for her tonight. Let's get some more likes and hearts in the building for Laura tonight. Put a number 1 in the chat if you understand that this woman is a warrior, that she listened to God, and that she was able to break through to her greatness. She was able to break through to her greatness. It's something inside of you out there that's trying to get out. And that which is inside of you has a relationship with what goes on in your world. It says, no, that ain't going to go right for you because you're not using me yet. That's not going to go right for you because you're not using me yet. And when you start listening and you hear that clue that says, hey, use me, your gift of writing, use me, your gift of singing, use me, your gift of numbers, use me, your gift of craftsmanship, use me, then your life changes. And so the spiritual work that we have to go through is using your gift and your talent and starting over from there. Guess what? You're going to have $32 in your pocket. Nobody's going to be calling you. Nobody's going to be beating your door down. But if you keep on in your talent, you express yourself. Sometimes your talent is working with others. You work with others to the best of your ability. At first, nobody's going to notice you. Nobody's going to say, I never seen somebody serve somebody else the way you doing it. But in time, your 6 degrees of the universe will wake up to you and say, you know what? This person is great at expressing herself. This person is great at expressing himself. And then your whole life will change. Some of you, you're 30, 40, and 50 years old right now, and there is a change waiting to happen in your life, but you won't listen to your call to express yourself. Express yourself. Laura, there is a woman out there. Her kids are in foster care. She's on the brink of giving up. She's on the brink of losing her parental rights. What do you say to her tonight?
Ooh. She has to first look at the situation, because what we do is we look at the end of the situation. We love to look at the end of the situation, and that goes into our whole conversation. The end of where we are, where we've arrived. There's a whole bunch of crap that happened before that. And that goes back to doing the work. And that's why I love having a solid conversation. I've discovered that a solid conversation will come around to the main point at various vibrations in that conversation.
Right.
You can't give up, because giving up could be some of the reason why the kids are in foster care. Right. Giving up might have been the thing that you did too much. I can't do this. Da, 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 da. We always say we have to find. Again, I can't reiterate this enough. Everything that we need is inside of us. The world makes us busy, and I got to do this, and social media that, and da, 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 da. If you are always doing something, you cannot hear yourself.
That's right.
God speaks from a quiet place.
What do you mean by that?
To do?
What do you mean by that? When you say God speaks from a quiet place, what does that mean?
God is not going to compete with all of the external distractions to get your attention. He says, I reside in you. You were created in my image. If he resides in me, then I need to be by myself to hear what the Spirit is saying.
So let me get this straight. What you're saying to me tonight is that the people who are, most of us, who are working a job, they're living in the noise of the city, the noise of the house, the noise of the community, the noise. Everything is noise, media, everything. It's a lot of noise. They're going to have to find a quiet place. They're going to have to get quiet. They're going to have to be quiet, and they're going to have to get some silence in their life. And in that silence, that's when they're going to hear from their higher source. Is that what you're telling me today?
That's what I'm telling you, but it ain't about finding a quiet space. It's about demanding a quiet space. If you think you're just going to find a quiet space, no, you got to tell people, I'm not taking no phone calls today. You know, they get an attitude when you say that. Or did you just, I left something in social. I tell people all the time, you left something in social media in my DM. Well, good luck with that. Good. You have to demand your personal time and space. You have to say to people, get out my face, leave me alone. I need a moment to myself. You can't find quiet time. Ain't no finding. No, you got to demand quiet time.
That's huge. That's huge. So think about this, everybody. Are you demanding a quiet space where you can hear your higher source? Are you demanding it? Because the noise will drive you crazy. The noise will lead you to hurt yourself, hurt somebody else. The noise, it leads you to the penitentiary. The noise, it leads to your depression. See, you're going to get quiet one way or another. Oh, it's quiet in the penitentiaries tonight. And I know everybody don't end up in jail. But that quiet zone is going to make itself ever present in your life one way or another. So you've got to get out in front of it and demand it. I demand quiet so I can hear my higher source. I demand quiet so that I can manifest my soul. See, I'm not growing up if I don't ever get that quiet space, because I can't express my soul. So my soul is never going to activate the law of attraction for me. I'm always going to be going through some nonsense until my soul gets its way. My soul is not going to get its way until I can hear its directions. In order for me to hear those directions, I need some peace and quiet. Now, I got 3 questions for you.
You do.
I got 3 questions for you. We have 1 minute left in the show. 1 minute. I need you to answer these 3 questions. The first question: what is survival to you?
What is survival to me? Well, okay, I'm going to answer it in two parts. Survival used to be for me is making sure that I had what I thought I needed. Survival for me now is not worrying about what I need because it is what it is. Okay, so the worry to what am I going to do? Sometimes we have to ride the wave. We just talked about the wave. Survival for me now is being able to accept what it is. That's what survival is for me now.
Final 20 seconds. What is success to you?
Wow. Success to me is being able to be who I am at any given time and still be able to say, hey, I'm Laura and I'm unemployed. Just like I say, hey, I'm Laura and I'm a screenwriter. That's what success is. Accepting all of me, even the worst of me. That's success for me.
What is greatness to you?
Wow. Greatness. Greatness to me is being able, or the understanding that in order to be great, I have to be great with somebody else or with another group of people. Greatness to me is being able to, whatever it is that I do, that somebody else is going to get the runoff. I want to be able to share everything that I do with somebody else.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Poindexter letting us know after it's all said and done, you use your talent, you're going to have to start over again. We've listened to your journey today. We heard how you overcame tremendous adversity. We're giving you respect today while you can still receive it. And we're giving you a crown today while you can still receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. Put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, Laura Poindexter, you are America's next motivator. Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by today, all right?
Thank you so much for having me, Said. Great interview. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you got to do, just like you did today, is stop by and pick it up.